agree with Alan Greenspan, we ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely, we do.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, we've been a long time ago to eliminate it.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
There's a moon out tonight. Let's go strolling. There's a girl in my...
Welcome into the I Am Liberty Show. I wanted to give you one last nugget before the new year. One last nugget before the new year. Since I took off Wednesday night with the live show, I decided to come hang with you today. Come hang with you today after the holiday weekend. I took a trip up to Philadelphia, saw family, and I got hit with the story about the Drexel professor who said all he wanted for Christmas was white genocide. I'm not even going to go into it. We've got a special guest in the backseat, Jacob Walton, my youngest son. We're on the way to the gym and doing our thing. We're back home. You want to say hi, Jacob? That works for me. So we're on our way to the gym. I don't even want to get into the professor with the white genocide because part of me thinks that it was a ploy. Like literally, part of me thinks it was a ploy just to get people to talk about his Twitter page because he's a loser. So I'm not going to give him the time of the day. If it gets traction, then... but see, the beautiful thing about social media is when a guy comes out, a white guy now, this is not a black man or an Hispanic man, or anybody who was ever oppressed by white people ever in his entire life. This is just a white man who comes out, and he's been so brainwashed by 8 years under Barack Obama that white people are evil, and they're hateful, and he comes out and he says something silly like that. And all I could think about is, okay, he's trying to garner himself, 100,000 new Twitter followers by being radical. Right. Probably can't even do a push-up. But anyway, all that said, the beauty of social media is that by the time I got wind of this story, there was a wave of people just hacking the bones off of this creature. Right, this poor creature, this poor tenured creature who takes advantage of his students, no doubt. I mean, really, if you're a professor, you take advantage of your students. They pay how many untold hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to Drexel, and you sit up there on your high horse, play on your Twitter, and charge them out the nose for your incredible your incredible presence. God, what a crazy narcissistic profession that is, huh? Much more narcissistic than some guy who talks on a podcast for a few hours every week. Neither here nor there. He doesn't deserve our time. We're not going to discuss him. I don't feel like talking about him. I really don't. It's not one of those white privilege, white this, white attack. I don't even want to go down the path of the fact that we need to get over this whole attack on the whites. Right? This Nazi Hitler-style attack on all of the problems of the world are white people. They're reminiscent of anything. Instead, well, there's several things I'd rather talk about instead. I'd like to talk about the fact that Barack Obama's still pushing, and he's getting his way on the Second Amendment Social Security ban. I'd like to talk about that. I'm sorry, not a ban on Social Security, but those folks who are on Social Security. The doctors who oversee them he's looking to put a loophole. Well, really, he's achieved it, to be honest with you. How can I put it succinctly? He's still looking to attack the rights of citizens of America through whatever means he can find. Right? He's still trying to attack the Second Amendment rights of Americans all across the nation. And this is one of those means where he can, because the government is paying these people. The government has their hand in the pocket. And without the dependents, there's serious issues, right? They'll have serious trouble without the dependents. And that's one of the big deals, one of the big issues. So he's going after Social Security recipients through their doctors to decide whether or not these people should be owning guns or not, which is hilarious in and of itself. But it's like I always tell you, the Second Amendment will always be under fire. It's always going to be under fire. And it's the number one source of our contention, right? We have to always be vigilant with Amendment 2. We have to. Which is why I think Wednesday night, in the new year, I'm going to do a live show on gun safety. I think we're going to do a live show on gun safety for preppers. Because I started thinking about the issue, right, in some of my writing. I started thinking about the issue and I was saying, when you are a prepper, you're not a hunter always. You don't always come from a background of people who shoot and enjoy shooting and shoot for fun and shoot as a hobby. You may come from a background of people who never shoot. Right? And the issue with that is, where do you get your gun safety? Where do you get your gun safety training? Now, I will say most responsible gun owners will go to the concealed carry class. Mostly preppers are going to do that as well. But there's people out there who don't. And for them, we need to talk about gun safety. Because we got to talk about how to safely carry, how to safely store weapons, all that stuff, what to do in a way, what the implications are if you draw a weapon. Anyhow, story for another day, but I think Wednesday on the live show, we're going to ring the new year in with some gun safety talk for preppers. It's important. If you're not trained on how to use the gun, you're not trained on how to use the gun. You're not trained on how to store the gun. You don't get that from the guy at the Dick's Sporting Goods counter. You don't get it. He doesn't come up to you and say, okay, well, here's your new AR-15, and I just want to make sure that you have a safe for it. Yes? No? Do you want to make sure that you know how to load it and fire it safely? Do you have kids in the home? All those types of things. I will always say that it's the responsibility of the gun owner to know how to fire, use the weapon, how to store the weapon, how to keep the weapon away from kids. Also, the conversation with your children is a big one, right? To sit down and tell them, look, you see that safe in that room over there? Well, it's filled with highly effective killing machines, and there's no reason you should ever touch them unless we say you can or unless you've been trained on how to use them. They're not toys. They will kill you. They'll kill anybody they point at, and you have to be aware of that. So the gun issue, the attack on our senior citizens and their rights, right? The attacking the old and the weak, right? You're drawing Social Security from our funds, so we're going to try to control how much of this right you're allowed to take part in. And if we feel like we don't like the way you think, if we feel like we don't like the types of belief systems you carry, if we feel like we can get a doctor's note from you to say that maybe you're not that mentally stable an individual, then you're in trouble and you're going to lose that right. And Obama has brought that to you. So what are your thoughts on that, Jake? Give me your thoughts on the Second Amendment ban. Or not necessarily a ban, but the Second Amendment attack on our seniors. Tell us about it. He's a little speechless. Ladies and gentlemen. I thought we might get something out of Jacob, but it seems as though he's just twisting around his pacifier in his mouth and happy to be sitting back there. It's a beautiful day here in Richmond, by the way. Put the window down here. For nearly January, I'd say the global warming cloud has got one up on, or crowd rather, has got one up on me. Did I say clown? Automatically the global warming clown? Oh yeah, your thoughts on global warming, sir? Sir, Mr. Walton, your thoughts on global warming? Nothing. Okay, he went silent again. Every once in a while, he puts a couple sentences out in baby talk, and I want to get one. So, how was your holiday? I hope it was good. I hope you had a good time. I hope you got the things you wanted for Christmas. Very important that you get what you want. It's one of the few times a year when you can actually get what you want. But as we head down the turnpike here, one of the things that Santa brought me, and I don't know if it's good or bad yet, I haven't quite figured it out, but one of the things that Santa brought me was Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight, the Batman game. And yes, it's a video game, and yes, it's a grown man pretending to be Batman in the wee hours of the morning and evening. And yes, I enjoy the hell out of it. And I started to write an article not but 2 days ago about how Batman is, in the superhero world, he is the prepper. He's the prepper of the superhero world. He's the superpowered prepper. Though he doesn't have any actual superpowers, he's got the bunker. He's got the gadgets. He's got the weapons. He's got the foresight. You know, Batman is the prepper in the superhero world. So when I play a game like Arkham Knight, and if you don't know the arc of the story, you know, the Gotham City essentially gets taken over by this armor-wearing, similar-looking to Batman, tough guy called the Arkham Knight. And tanks, and it's just the whole resistance thing that I love to play so much. The reasons I played Homefront and Homefront Revolution, the reasons that I played Far Cry Primal and Far Cry 3 were some of my favorite games. Being that individual that's building the resistance and taking over the stronger, more powerful entity, man, that's a good time in video games for me. Why? Because I don't have to actually go up against anything big that's going to kill me in real life. Not that I'm afraid to go up against anything big that's going to kill me in real life. I mean, I'm a father of 2 boys, so forgive me if I make the joke. It's only 50% a joke. But I'm playing this game. I'm loving it. I'm playing it. I'm loving it. I'm clenching my teeth and squeezing my knuckles till they're white in an attempt to control myself so that I don't wind up having it affect my family life. You know what I mean? I get into a game like that, it's not hard for me to want to just play it until the sun comes up. So there's a little bit of self-control that comes along with that. And what can I say? When you look at... When you're a younger man, you like Superman. When you're an older guy, you start... Well, not that I'm an older guy, but when you get more responsible and more understanding of the realities of life, you understand Batman. You know, that's really what it comes down to. All my life, I've been a massive Superman fan. Never really won for Batman. Never really understood the dark undertone and, I'm just a detective. You wanted to always enjoy the superpower of Superman, and also the purity of Superman was something I always loved. Right? The fact that under all circumstances he did the right thing. What really pushed me into Batman's camp, though, to be honest, was this relatively new series of movies that came out where he's cohorting around with his son as Robin. What are your thoughts on that, Jacob? So Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, or Damian Wayne? Give me your thoughts, Jacob. I think he's brooding. I'm going to go with Jason Todd. No, but really, I'm enjoying Batman a lot lately. Why is this a relevant topic? Maybe it's not to you. I don't know. I really don't care. It's a beautiful day. I'm headed to the gym to suffer greatly. And that guy almost rear-ended someone. And, yeah, this is what's on my mind. The new video game. And I'm gonna swing it all around because I'm going to jump now from Batman the Arkham arc to the terrified George Soros letter. Have you heard of this one yet? George Soros penned a letter, and the whole world read it because he's Emperor Palpatine. No, if we were in the... Do we all know who George Soros is by now? I think we have to, right? He's a guy who has espoused some crazy talk about situations in the world. You know, he's a puppeteer. Yes, he's a puppeteer in every sense of the word. He's made millions of dollars, probably closer to billions of dollars, overthrowing governments around the world, and really just working around democracy at every turn. So in this letter, he has penned his concerns about Trump, his concerns about the direction of America, the fact that we have a new tyrannical leader who is basically going to say bump that to the New World Order globalists out there who want to see it all come together and all mesh together, which we have watched in Europe over the last how many years, right? We've seen the EU fall apart, which he called a great social engineering victory. I don't know what's victorious about what's happening in Europe right now, especially in Germany in particular, France, but that's the type of guy we're dealing with George Soros, okay? That's the type of man. If we were talking, this is the level of manipulation, right? The level of manipulation on a global scale and power and money and influence that this saggy-eyed villain named George Soros has. You would put, if we were to jump back into the arc of Batman, right? This is what you see the connection now. If we were to jump back into the arc of Batman, this guy would be Ra's al Ghul. That's who he would be. He would be a man as vicious as Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, however you want to pronounce it. I mean, that's it. A person who is looking over the globe like God himself and moving the chess pieces and destroying what he doesn't like and creating what he wants. And everything in between, he's monitoring. And he sees his greatest nemesis, which is America. Because the powerful Americans, with their guns, with their rights, with their freedoms, with their common sense, aren't big fans of this whole let's come together and kumbaya as one global society. You know, because we watch other societies fall. We watch other nations fall into hard times, and we're not into that. Right? Many of us are not into that. We love America. We like our borders. We like what's within our borders. We like to leave our borders from time to time and visit other nations, but man, does it feel good to come home to the bold and the beautiful, right? The bold and the beautiful America. And he's in an uproar. Trump is a despotic con man. He should have never been elected. So he pens this big long letter. And what this tells the world is not just his feelings on Trump, but it tells the world that he's skittish. He's scared. I think he's worried. I think Ra's al Ghul is a little concerned about the direction that the Americans might take. He mentions that there's, so many different fascistic and nationalistic movements uprising all over the world at this time, thanks to isolation and thanks to, things just like the Trump movement, the movement that got Trump elected, right? Just say it. The racists, the nationalists, the whatever. Just use the buzzwords, Soros. We know the deal. And this letter is a big deal. This letter is a big deal that speaks to what's possible under Donald Trump. Because under Obama, man, it was a free run. It was like all the despots across the world, all the manipulators of currency and manipulators of world governments, they had the star from Mario, right? They hit the lucky block with the question mark on it. You remember Mario. They hit the block when they got Barack Obama, and one of those stars popped out. And for the last 8 years, they've been running around with that star, and they've been running through opponents, blip, 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 untouched, untouched. You couldn't say anything about them. You couldn't do anything to stop them. Who would dare? Well, all of a sudden, man, the star ran out. And they're back to they're back to the underground. And they're getting nervous. And this is a surefire sign of that because their leader, Ra's al Ghul, George Soros, has shown his colors in this letter. He's not sending off a warning to people. It's over. The election is done. What he's doing in penning this article, to me anyway, is signaling to the rest of the people who pay attention that, things could get a little ugly with Trump around. Now, whatever that equates to is what it equates to. If Trump accidentally has some a little cardiac arrest here, a case of the plutonium sashimi, then well, then we have to have bigger conversations. Who's really running the world? What are the American people responsible for here, and what do we have to do next? But until that moment, we can sit here and bask in our glory and understand that monsters like George Soros are a little uneasy. So I didn't bring you on to listen to this show before the end of the year to talk about George Soros and Barack Obama, because we know what they are. There's no breaking news there. No breaking news, right? They're coming after the guns, and there are billionaire creatures out there who are moving the chess pieces all across the board. No news. Nothing. As Ecclesiastes said, there's nothing new under the sun. In that regard, he's right. Another story that I do find interesting, though. They're looking to bring back an ancient species that was extinct in the 1600s, early 1600s, called the, I don't know if I'm going to botch the pronunciation, not the Oryx, but it looks like the Aurochs, or the Aurochs, Aurochs, which it looks like, if I had to give you my best description of it now, I've only seen it in drawings. You know, this thing never existed in a time of photographs, but I'd have to say that it looks kind of like a bull and a wildebeest mixed. A bison and a wildebeest, you know, with the girth and the size sort of a bison, not as, it's like a swole wildebeest with the curved horns and the whole thing. And this is an amazing story to me because this is an ancient animal. You know what I mean? This is one of those animals that our ancestors hunted. Not just our ancestors from the 1600s, but this is an ancient creature that people hunted with a bow and arrow. One of these massive giant things that roamed the world when we were coming to be. You know, one of these prehistoric giants. And I bring this up, it's a very interesting thing, because of the fact that when we're dealing with these things, you know, when we're dealing with these creatures and these ideas that scientists think, oh, well, maybe this is what we do. You know, maybe what we do is and the way they're going to do it, see, it's not as devious as you would think. You know, it's not as insane and backdoor laboratory DNA splicing. It's not one of those type of fixes. Instead, what we're dealing with is this backward mating process, where they're taking different species and mating them with older, more ancient living creatures, right? So they're older, more ancient living, closer to this creature in sort of its makeup. You all right back there, buddy? We're still on the mic with Jacob. He just did a good solid hour and a half in the kid zone, and I think he had a ball. But right now he's a little peeved because the sun's right in his little eyes on the ride home. But anyhow, so they're breeding this Auroch, or whatever however you pronounce it, I'm not 100% sure, this giant wildebeest creature back into reality. And if it goes well, right? So if they bring this thing back from extinction by mating backwards, which is basically what they're doing, like I mentioned, by backwards mating and creating these new creatures, will that give scientists the license to bring other stuff back? Don't worry, buddy, we'll be out of the sun in a second. Will this give the scientists license to figure out, can we bring other things back? And are we going to live in a time where Jurassic Park, not with dinosaurs necessarily, but with Jurassic Park type scenarios where you can go see things like hyenodons, You know, can they bring a hyenodon back? Can they mate backwards a giant, massive monster hyena beast that was as big as a bear and hunted in packs? See, this is a big, very big story for a guy like me because I'm obsessed with these creatures that we beat. I'm obsessed with the saber-toothed cat and these other creatures that we defeated to survive. You know, and maybe we didn't knock them off the map, but we survived them. And that's a very big deal. Just making it out of the clutches of one of these creatures. You know, they were Predators 2.0 at the time. You know, monster, incredible destroyer predators. And what they did was they hunted. And they hunted with their mouths and their claws, and they became adept at it. And all they had to do was chase down this little soft-bodied monkey. This little soft-bodied primate creature. They hunt him down, everything's good, right? We'll take him out of the picture, no big deal. He's a nice, simple meal. But then he figured out spears, and then he figured out arrows and things of that nature. And that monkey became a real problem. And that's an amazing situation for me. Well, they finally decided, oh, we figured out fire, now we can keep these monsters at bay. Sometimes. I mean, they still got picked off, of course. But if you don't believe that the human animals began his reign of dominion over the world in far back prehistoric times, their stories, I don't remember the name of the site. There's a site that was found where these ancient baboons, these prehistoric baboons, much larger than the baboons of today, right? They said that these baboons were in the ballpark of 150 pounds per, right? So there were these massive baboons, 150 pounds per. And they effectively got in some sort of a battle with us human beings. Right? So they got it, and maybe it wasn't a battle. They're not really sure here's the site. Let me give you the site. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm mixing history with my own dream world, my own Planet of the Apes fantasy. 150-pound baboons. You know, at the time, we were much smaller, but we had figured out tools. We had figured out some version of stone tools. And they found this site that had upwards of 100 of these baboon bodies. Bones, heads, skulls, the whole 9 yards piled. In a big pile, these baboons were piled, right? And it was very clear that this was some sort of a massacre. And there was, the living sites of Homo erectus were all around. This big, giant mountain of bones. You know, we were not 150 pounds. We were not creatures that had any real height to them yet. And this may have been don't quote me, but this may have been before Homo erectus. I'm not 100% sure. I read this a long time ago. But they found this site with these baboon bodies, right? Hundreds of baboon bodies, bones, skulls, the whole nine, these massive baboon creatures that would have, really been a challenge to a human today. Maybe even with a handgun, you'd have had a struggle taking down. A 150-pound baboon would be no joke. That's a serious creature to tangle with. They massacred them. For one reason or another. Was it a hunting party? Was it a dominance thing? Really, it didn't matter. And it doesn't matter to me today. The theories are kind of irrelevant. What matters is, for some reason, they had to be slaughtered. And the human race at the time either came up with a brilliant plan on how to do it, or just with their weapons, just savagely destroyed all those animals and piled up in a big pile to celebrate. That is an astounding testament to how a soft, hairless monkey made his way up the totem pole in a world full of beasts that were made to kill, right? They were built to kill. And you look at this idea of bringing back this ancient livestock creature, basically, an ancient, Are we going to eat that ancient beast? Probably. Probably will. And that's an interesting thing in and of itself. So do we eat this ancient creature? But the perfect storm goes back to what? It goes back to the idea that we're bringing back these creatures from the dead. And where does that take us? The answer is no one knows where it takes us. No one knows where it takes us. No one knows which path we are headed down, right? And I'm not going to get philosophical. I'm going to tell you Happy New Year, and I'm going to see you in 2017. Thank you for joining me tonight on the I Am Liberty Show.